Hi, today we're going to talk about not quite the dividend announcement, but the dividend recommendation notice that came out for Carib Cement Company Limited. Now, this is something we've been waiting to get an update for a long time here on L.E.A.R.N Invest. So something was released today on the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website. So we're going to go through that article, talk about the history of the recommendation or the proposed dividend, and then see what it may mean, moving forward for the company. So let's get started.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest.
All right, so let us go. All right, so this was released today, June 6th, 2022, the date of this video. So let's click on it and see what it says, right? So Carib Cement Company Limited advises that its board of directors at meeting held on May 26, 2022, recommended to present an ordinary resolution to shareholders to declare a final dividend of $1.50 per share payable on August 15, 2022, with a proposed record date of August 4th, 2022, with an ex-dividend date of August 3rd. This dividend recommendation shall be made to shareholders at the company's next annual general meeting. Now, a few things to take away from this. This is not a confirmed dividend declaration, right? It says the word here, recommend. So you want to take note of that. It means that when the AGM comes up, they're gonna, vote on it likely, or confirm the resolution through its shareholders, and then it's likely to be confirmed from there. So that's the important thing to note here. I know some persons may see this and think that it is confirmed. It is not. So we have to wait to see. Now they have a date here, proposed in August, which means likely we're going to hear that AGM being announced within the next couple of weeks, right? So that's something to look out for, and likely as soon as it is announced, we'll likely either share it in our group, share it on our page, etc. So you can, take note of that. Some important things to take away from this as well. If it is that you'd be interested in receiving dividends, a few, right, for those persons who may not understand dividend dates, the date that you need to be a shareholder to receive these dividends would be August 3rd, right? Which means based on our settlement dates, you'd have to really, if you're planning to purchase for the dividend, you'd have to purchase on I would say August 1st, but let me see the date that August 1st falls on, just in case, because we do have some holidays coming up that week. I think Emancipation Day and an Independence Day falls in that week. So you'd likely have to be a shareholder from July 29th, because I think the first week of August, the 1st, is likely a holiday. But let me actually try and confirm that right now. Emancipation Day 2022. One second, guys. Here, I'm just doing a search. Yeah, it's August 1st, right? So that means August 1st is going to be a holiday, which means that you'd have to, if you're interested in purchasing, the date that you want to have in mind is July 29th, okay? So bear that in mind here. A couple of things that you want to note as well. This would be the date, as I said, the ex-dividend date, then the record date being August 4th, and the payment date would be August 15th, which means, for example, let's say that you have a dividend mandate set up, it would be transferred to your bank account on or before this date. if it is that you don't have a dividend mandate set up, we actually cover that process in another video on dividends, so feel free to check that out. So let's see how Carib Cement has been doing since the start of the year. So we've done a few videos on this company. We've been tracking the progress of the dividend announcement for a while. It's something that we've been very curious since we saw the price started to take a little nosedive sometime last year, because I remember it went as high as $146 within the last year. And then we saw it go from 146 to somewhere in the 80s or 90s, and then I believe as low as 60. Seeing here for this year, I think it went a little bit lower than 60 here, right? So, I mean, a few things that would have caused this, of course, which we've covered already. Shareholders would have been concerned about the payment that would have been made. Its parent company of 2%. That has been confirmed since we started talking about it. And the next thing that shareholders were waiting for is a dividend announcement, which is not quite here, but as you see, it's trending in that direction. The confirmed announcements will likely be after that AGM. So look out for the notice of the AGM. When the AGM passes within a couple of days, you'll see whether or not this recommendation has been confirmed, then will likely be declared. All right. So in terms of how it traded for today, let's actually see here. This is the Q as at right now. Hopefully you can see it. So it would have ended the day at $66 here. And as we see, it's been, kind of making its way down a little bit from about the start of May, $72 at the start of May. And it's went as low as $60 on May 25th, but it's kind of been creeping up a little bit. Ended today at 66. So that's what, about 10% from the low of May 25th. And this is a Q as at right now, but of course, as you know, this is likely to change as soon as tomorrow morning, especially with the dividend announcement. It's interesting for me to see how investors respond, because one of the things I'm looking at here for this is the dividend yield as well, right? So if you look at this yield based on my calculation at current price, at the current close price for today, that dividend yield of $1.50 would give you about 2%, 2.3%. So I mean, if that sounds attractive for you as a dividend investor, that's something that you might be interested in. But 2.3% is definitely on the lower end in terms of dividends. In terms of the top companies that pay dividends locally, I believe to me, maybe anything above 5%, maybe a little bit higher would be a little bit more attractive, but that's my personal opinion. It's not a knock on the dividend per se. All right, so we see orders, sell orders here again going as high as maybe about $200. That's always interesting for me to see. We see about 374,000 units here. I personally want to see if this order remains. Usually these large orders, depending on the type of announcement for the company, these may be shifted around a little bit. So that's something I'll be looking at tomorrow and the rest of the week to see how that turns out. And there's no major buy orders really. Largest quantity here is 16,895 units. Again, I'm gonna see how that changes as the week goes by. All right. A few other things about the company here that you want to look at. Total shares outstanding is 851 million units, market cap of 55 billion rather. So how the dividend works, the amount that is declared is pretty much paid to all shareholders based on shares. So of course, if you look at the top 10 shareholding that we have here, so these are the top 10 shareholders as at their 2021 annual report. So T-Sale at the top has 65.64%, and then everyone else is 8% and lower, so 71 million shares and lower. And this pooled equity fund has 3.5 million shares, and that kind of rounds out the top 10. So about 15 or 14.95% of shares are outside of the top 10. So that dividend is going to be paid to all shareholders. So, based on the amount of shares that you have, you multiply that by the dividend to be paid, and that's the amount that you receive, right? So, 1.5 TCL is pretty much going to get like $900 million in terms of dividend payment, and so on. Maybe here, MJE is gonna receive maybe about 14.5 million thereabout in terms of dividend. There's a Sagicor pooled equity fund, Sagicor Select Fund. So if you're a Select Fund holder, that Select MD, that's something that you'd be interested in knowing as well. Guardian Life Limited here. And as I said, so that's pretty much top 10 shareholders as at the 2021 annual report. Let's see if I didn't think there were any other news to note of recently. We're just kind of waiting to see the annual report will have come out at the end of last month. So we have not decided to review that. Let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in us doing a review for that. I didn't think it was necessary based on the other topics that we had to cover. Let me know if you're interested in that, so we could do a review of that if you're interested. So we've been, everything else was us, kind of centered around waiting for that dividend announcement. The policy approval would have been announced on March 25th. We covered that already. That was this disclosure here that, they announced today that it approved the new policy for payment of dividends, which will include a framework that would be considered in order to declare and pay such. So they needed to put this in place before they could get to the point of actually announcing and paying. So that was announced earlier this year. So we cover that in one of our weekly stock market reviews. And let's see if there anything else really. Let me do a quick search here. Carib Cement. Just to see if there's anything else in terms of news that I might have missed. All right, that would have come out about the annual report. We spoke about the royalty fee approved. That's 2% currently. So that was something we spoke about before. All right, so let's see this one here. All right, Carib Cement, maker of Carib Cement, reported flat for its March quarter, but bullish on business in the periods that are coming, pointing to a vibrant residential real estate market in particular. So CCC remains encouraged about the future, especially given the recent actions by the government to remove curfews and fully reopen the economy. We spoke about that previously, that boding well for a lot of companies like Main Event, companies like Wisinco. So we're really looking to see what Q2 looks like for a lot of companies because of this removal of curfew. So they're pretty much saying the same thing here. The company is also heartened by the strong cement demand evidenced by several announcements from the government and private developers to construct housing and luxury villas, especially those that will adopt an eco-friendly design, the cement maker said in its newly issued first quarter earnings report. So I think we could pretty much find that one ourselves to see if there's anything else that was announced in that. We can just go straight to the company outlook. Yep, right here. All right, same thing here, right? We will also continue to advance several of our flagship projects, which include the construction of cement solutions in communities close to our operations. Carib Cement will remain vigilant about possible impacts to business continuity due to ongoing conflicts in Europe, which cause increased costs in fuel, power, and shipping, as well as threats from new strains of the COVID-19 infection. So that's something that you want to watch to see. You know, a lot of companies that are dependent on things like fuel, power, shipping, etc., will likely be reflecting new costs, which essentially is going to be impacting their profitability moving forward. So that's something you want to watch for the companies in your portfolio. So yeah, that's pretty much speaking to their outlook. That's there. Let's see here. Okay, those are things you already know. We don't need to go there. Let's see there. Yeah, so I think that's it really. I just want to see, watch to see how this kind of develops. I think I haven't really spent a lot of time on social media as yet to see how investors are responding to the announcement. I know me personally, I was hoping for more attractive dividend, but I'm not a shareholder personally. So that's just my personal opinion based on just, I guess, the expectation of some of the shareholders would have been, you know, voicing their earlier sentiment. But again, if it's something that you're interested in as a dividend investor, I would say focus on the dividend yield, see if that's attractive enough for you. If it's a 2.3% yield and you're gonna pay, you know, 1.5 or 2% in fees to acquire it, I don't know if purchasing for dividend would make sense. Now, if it is that maybe you're interested in maybe the anticipation of capital gains, maybe that's something that may be interesting to you. You'd have to speak to your financial advisor, of course, to see whether or not this company makes sense for your particular portfolio. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about the news. I know a lot of persons are saying finally, and a lot of persons are happy at least that something is announced. So they think that this is one of the things that was kind of, you know, depressing the stock price. So I guess we'll see with this announcement now what that means for the company moving forward. All right. So this was meant to be a short video. Let me see if you have any questions here. Fabi is saying, so dividends is only paid to persons with a certain amount of shares. No, actually, it's paid to all shareholders. If you have one share, you will receive $1.5 before tax, of course. So you'll receive the dividend according to the amount of shares you hold, right? So I shared the list of the top 10 because, of course, those are the ones who are going to get you know, a bulk of those funds, but it's paid equally based on the number of shares you have, meaning the same amount is paid to all shareholders, but the amount you receive is based on the shares you have. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So if I have 10 shares, multiply 10 by $1.50, and I'll receive that less any applicable taxes, all right? Any other questions? I could maybe take a couple of questions before I close off this live here. Okay. All right. If anything, you know, comes up, just, you know, leave me a comment and I'll try to respond to as much as I can. I do have some outstanding comments. I'll try to get to those this week. Thank you guys for being here. Feel free to join us on Telegram. We do have an active community there. We welcome you to join us. We talk about investing daily. So it's something that you may be interested in. The tax rate, I believe, let me see if I have any dividend slips in my email, right? Because I believe in terms of tax rate on dividend, I think it's a standard GCT that's collected. But you can confirm by just looking at any dividend slip that you would have received. But that's my understanding. Somebody can let me know. So the GCT is taken out and that's it. So Fabi, construction has been on the rise. Will it pick up now that curfews are gone? Probably as well. But, you know, I don't know if you noticed that COVID is kind of still a thing. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to me whether or not we're possibly leaning towards a lockdown. Again, you don't know. So I think a lot of companies will maybe use this opportunity to complete any projects that they have outstanding, but we have to watch it closely because there are also, you know, increased costs rising inflation, that may cause an impact to some industries in terms of consumption, and that impact could lead to us seeing some of the companies that we're expecting to do great, maybe reporting, increased costs or lower revenues or lower profits due to what's happening globally. Paul, I believe today is day 6 for the dollar basis of allotment. It closed 2 Fridays ago, and the date for basis of allotment will be 6 days. So I think you should be seeing it any day now. So don't worry. As soon as it is announced, I'm sure you'll see it somewhere. Yeah, I just did a Google search. It's not out yet. So let's give it some time, okay? Let's give it some time. Give it some time. All right, but based on what we've seen, there was an article about just how much money was put into the IPO. Because there was so much money put in, the allocations are likely going to be extremely small. Just bear that in mind, right? Now, yeah, so let's see where that is concerned. But I believe I've heard somewhere between 5 to 10 billion of applications, when the public pool was about 225 million. So you're gonna see a very small basis of allotment. Like, it's gonna be really small, probably even smaller than main event that we saw a few years ago. All right. And let me actually show you guys for reference here before we close this off. I'm gonna share my screen, right? So this is a main event basis of allotment, right? At the time, they received 1,000 applications, just 1,000, valued at 673 million. The company's prospectus was offering 120 million, right? So this was about 5 times oversubscribed, 5 times. And the number of units here for the public pool for dollar is double this, right? So based on that, shares to the general public, first 3,000 shares were allotted 100%. The balance in excess of 3,000 was 1.19%, right? That was, so if you applied for 100,000 worth, you'd have gotten the first 3,000 and 1.19% of $97,000, all right? That's what you'd have gotten. So, I mean, it's going to be, I think, somewhere in this region or less, right? So we may say like the first 1,000 shares and then a 1% or something to that effect, right? All right, let's see some of these questions here. I'll go for another 5 minutes. Can I round this out at 30 minutes? Can you give a proper share to buy if the company should go under another lockdown? I would say look at the companies that thrived during lockdown. I think that's a good way to look at it. There are some businesses that maybe they do products or services that aren't dependent on a physical location, or maybe they do business globally. Those are the ones I'd be looking at. We saw, companies like Honeybun, I think companies like maybe Spurtree could still do well in a lockdown based on the product that they're offering, right? A lot of persons spend more time at home, maybe more snacking in terms of Honeybun, maybe more cooking in terms of Spurtree. I mean, interestingly enough, I think Dollar Financial would probably do well in a lockdown as well, based on the fact that their product is something that can be, it's pretty much a bank transfer, and you're able to receive your loan. So those type of companies, the ones that did well over the pandemic or near the end of 2021, those are the ones I'd be looking at. Mailpack, I mean, if we go back to another lockdown, it may bode well for Mailpack indeed. That is something that would be interesting to see. Let's see what Paul is saying here. Signals looking. Let me check that out. Right. So Cygnus is interesting. I think persons were a little bit disappointed with the results, and so let's see here. Let's see, IJB. All right, I'm just loading it here. We can take a quick look before we close out. Well, here we go, right? So Cygnus, at me, let's see what their high for this year is. Year to date, it's down. Quarter to date, month to date. In the last year or so, as high as $19. So I mean, if you're able to get some 14.31, I mean, so who knows, right? Maybe there's a dividend announcement that could do something for them here. Let's see. Didn't they announce it? I'm not seeing the corporate actions for them here. Yeah. Let me check here. I mean, I don't know, Paul. I'd say it's outside of maybe a dividend announcement. It would be interesting. So their last dividend was actually February last year. So they could potentially be due for a dividend, but I'd be looking at what their retained earnings are. I haven't looked at their financials yet. Are they in a position to pay a dividend? Who knows? So let's see about that one. But I'd be interested to see that. I do like the company. So yeah, interesting to see how the next few months goes for them. But yeah. But as you see, the data isn't even here, so I can't even do any quick analysis on the company here. So I'd have to do some research through the statements and see. But we have not reviewed Cygnus in a while. It is a company I'm planning to maybe look at sometime next month. So we'll see. Haven't looked at Blue Power in a while either. I think there was potential opportunity for it early in the year. I believe they would have seen some growth from the start of the year, but I didn't see enough for me to add it to my watch list, right? I try to not have a watch list of more than 10 stocks, but I do remember, I think it was around, let me see, at some point in the year, I think I saw it around the $3 mark, and I thought it was an interesting price to be at. And then I saw one day it was, here you go, $4.50. So between, let's say, February and May, that's what, 50% growth in about 2 months. I thought that was interesting when I was just going through the queue and saw the price. To my knowledge, there's nothing that would have accounted for that growth. I don't know if they would have released any financials during that time, because I know I didn't see any. So results were in March. So I don't know if it's anticipation of something. We don't know. So that's something that I'd have to look further at. But I think post-split, as in split with Lumber, I haven't really seen much in terms of interest for the company. Right? There was a large volume trade here of 1.4 million, but that's about it. As you see, most days, not really a lot of volume. If you guys know me, I tend to focus personally on companies that trade high volume. So this is not one of them that would be very interesting to me, really. Let's see here. That is true for Cygnus, but I mean, depending on the number of units that you're getting, Paul, if it is that you go from 14 with fees to 15 or 16, I mean, how long are you going to be waiting for that? Who knows? If it's interesting enough for you, go ahead, but I'd personally be looking for more than that, if you ask me. JFP did do that acquisition. So just bear in mind, with those kind of things, the announcement of the deal, the realization of the deal, and then it reflecting on the books may take some while. I haven't looked at it personally, but I know that was good to see for its existing shareholders. And it's something that, bodes well for the company. They did, say that they have some projects in the pipeline, plans for expansion, etc. So I think it's a company that will do well long term. I've no doubt about that. And I believe they're still doing well from IPO, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check the price here. Wow. So can't view the data here, guys. So I can't speak about JFP right now. As you said, there's no data there, right? Let me actually check Telegram to see what price it traded at today. All right, so 156, so 56% up from IPO. So that's good. I mean, if you bought in at IPO, you're up 50%. That's not bad, right? Okay. All right, guys. So yeah. So let me know if there's anything that you'd like me to cover on the weekly stock review that's going to be this Friday. Just post it in the comments under this video and I'll cover it then. I know we haven't done a video in a while. We've been focusing on the classes, our coaching program, etc. So those are some things that have been kind of taking us away from videos as often as we want to. But we ended our first cohort for coaching last night. So we're actually free to do a lot more videos over the next few weeks. The new cohort starts in July, so you'll probably hear about that soon as well. Fabi, I haven't looked at that. And this is my last question, by the way. I want to end the stream now. I wanted to ask about Barita. Is it a good buy knowing that they bought Reggae Beach recently? I don't know. Let me see if I can find that. For me, those questions are answered trying to determine what the company's purpose is, why they would have made the acquisition, what time frame they're looking at to realize profit from it. Are they buying it for income, or are they buying it to resell? What is it really? When was that announced, Fabi? Did you see it via news article or what? I'm looking for it now. All right, so I'm going to this last thing I want to look at, and then we're going to end the stream, right? So let's see here. Barita buys Reggae Beach. Barita Investment made its latest real estate acquisition. Purchase was made through the investment and brokerage firm's special purpose vehicle, MJR Real Estate Holdings. The purchase price was not disclosed. It is understood that the sale was completed a few months ago. A source close to the deal indicated that the property was valued at US $50 million, or about 7.5 billion Jamaican dollars. The disclosure of the purchase comes in the wake of Barita raising 10 billion in an APO sometime last year. So, I mean, 10.78 billion raised, 7.5 billion potentially spent here. Reggae Beach is over 250 acres, which is located in St. Anne. Project is expected to include development of a tax office, hospital, courthouse, educational facility, police station. So the thing that I note here include the development of, which means you're probably going to realize most of the benefit down the line if it is that they're going to be holding it for that long. The cost of the development was not disclosed. Timeline for the project is not immediately clear. However, the work is expected to begin 2023. That's a year from now. So, I mean, if it is that you have a long-term time horizon and you're bullish about this news, there could be potential opportunity for you there. I mean, that's the kind of way that I'd be looking at it really. Development is being planned. Let's see, anything there. All right, okay, yeah, so that's just other information there. So I mean, yeah, you want to kind of think about it that way. Research a company, see its performance in terms of its history, look at its outlook. So if you have time, it would be interesting. I believe the price has been kind of hovering somewhere between $88 and $92 for a while. So I mean, something that if you're interested in, you can again speak to your financial advisor and do what makes sense for your portfolio. All right, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for the time. Join us in Telegram again, and I'll be doing a stock review hopefully this Wednesday. That should be QWI, if I'm not mistaken, or it's Select F, one of the two. I need to confirm, so I'm going to start preparing for it tonight and see if I can get it out for this Wednesday. If not, it will be sometime next week. And so thank you guys for being here. Please like the video. I am my own advisor as well, Fabi. So I make my own decisions using the process that I share with you guys here each week. I think that you can do fairly well, just building your own stock portfolio. That's what we teach persons to do in our coaching program. That's something that we are big advocates for. I think it's good to have a relationship with an advisor. There are benefits to that, but you stand the best. You're in the best position long term if you are able to manage your own portfolio, in my opinion. All right, guys. See you in the next video. Be sure to check out other videos on our channel that may be helpful to you. Just go to the back end of our YouTube channel, search for any topic you're interested in. Chances are I would have covered it already. We have over 125 videos on our channel. So, continue learning, continue growing. And definitely, I pray that your investment journey will be a successful one.